I'm Pearl Whitfield, and I am going to be doing a series of readings from my new book, The Storekeeper, A Tale of Small Town Life, which is available on Amazon. Starting with chapter 1, I'll be doing it in little pieces of chapter 1. The next morning, when Ralph rolled up the blind on the door, he saw the little girl was already on the step. So, she hadn't been completely traumatized by the dog, Ralph thought. Today, she was looking at the door. Rusty had come down with Ralph this morning. He looked at the little girl through the door and wagged his tail. He sat down and watched her while Ralph got the coffee going. When Dave opened the door, Rusty stood up to sniff him politely. "Hello, who's this?" Dave asked. "That's Rusty," Ralph said, coming toward the door. "Rusty, this is Dave." But Rusty was out the door as Dave closed it. "Rusty!" Ralph shouted, "Come!" But the door was closed. Rusty stopped on the porch and looked at him. He looked at the little girl. She looked at the dog. Ralph yanked open the door. "Rusty, come," he said sternly. Rusty's ears drooped. The little girl was shrunk into the corner, a tangle of tense, skinny limbs. Ralph stepped onto the porch. "I don't know your name, but this is Rusty. He lives here. He just wants to be your friend," he told the wary child. She stared at Rusty, who wagged his tail slightly and dropped his head. Then the big dog lay down with his head on his outstretched paws. Now his head was lower than the little girl's. He looked up at her with his most winsome eyes. Ralph saw her body relax a little. One of the porch chairs was near her corner, and Ralph pulled it closer and sat down. Rusty sighed. Ralph looked down the street. Here came George in his old beater. Out of the corner of his eye, he saw the little girl had stopped staring at Rusty and was looking down the street. Ralph sighed. He rocked a little in the chair and hummed. The only song he ever really hummed was Clementine. He didn't even like it that much, but at moments like this, that's what popped into his mind. George opened his truck door. Ralph stood up. Rusty perked his ears, but didn't move. "Good morning, George," Ralph called. "Fine morning." "That it is," panted George, his overalls, if possible, stretched even more tightly than yesterday over the drum of his stomach. "Coffee ready?" "Yes, it is, and Dave has beat you to it, as usual," Ralph joked, opening the door for George. Rusty looked at Ralph, but didn't move. "Okay, Rusty, you stay, and be good." He looked at the little girl. She was watching Rusty suspiciously. Ralph went inside and closed the door. Over the course of the morning, Ralph would look out from time to time. The little girl was still there, and Rusty hadn't moved except to lie on his side and stretch out. There was plenty of room for customers to go past the two. Most of them said hi to the dog, but no one acknowledged the girl. To be continued.